Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Life as I See It with your hostess, Dina Nierenberg, and one of my favorite co-hostesses, Jana Ganusareva. Good afternoon, Jani. Great to see you again.
Great to see you, Dina, as usual.
Thanks.
Such a pleasure.
My pleasure. Anytime. How are you?
Everything is great. Day
Good.
is beautiful. Summer is coming.
Yeah.
I'm in an amazing mood. And I'm happy to be here with you.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Yeah, today is an absolutely gorgeous day. But then again, we all know that every day is an absolutely gorgeous day. Every day is a chance for all of us to actualize ourselves on this here earth that God has put us onto. And when we talk about the whole idea of actualization, what really comes to mind is a fellow named Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers was a theorist who started to talk and get the good word around in the late 1950s, early 1960s. Who was Carl Rogers? Carl Rogers, he believed, he was the revolutionist for the humanistic psychology movement. What did the humanists believe in? What did Carl Rogers believe in? Alongside of his colleagues Rollo May and Abraham Maslow, he believed the best about human nature. He believed that all of us are brought down to this here earth to actualize ourselves. And not only to actualize ourselves, but to love ourselves unconditionally and permanently, to accept ourselves, and also to understand that each and every one of us has such a unique core of inner wisdom and intuition. We do not always listen to our intuition, and that's sad when that happens. When we don't listen to our intuition, that's when we make all the wrong choices in life. That's when we really start to screw up. That's when we start to do all kinds of things that are wrong for us, and even sometimes we know that they're wrong for us, but we cannot seem to find another way. One thing, unfortunately, that we do so wrong with our lives is that we don't accept ourselves unconditionally. Now, the humanists believed, especially Carl Rogers, who spoke about it even more than May or Maslow, he really firmly believes that how do we live our best lives? How do we just deal with the world at our very, very best when we accept ourselves unconditionally, no matter what? And we all know that we have our imperfections. We all know that we have our flaws. If we were now to take out a piece of paper and pen, you and me and Tess over there, and start to list all of our flaws and all of our imperfections and all the things that we've done wrong in the past, we would come up with lists and lists and lists of things that we don't like about ourselves. But at the end of the day, Carl Rogers said, the only thing that really matters for our mental health is unconditional positive regard. And what is that? It means unconditional acceptance of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Loving ourselves no matter what. Loving yourself no matter what also leads to us loving everybody else no matter what.
Yes, it's definitely. And I love that. I love if we love ourselves, we accept ourselves, but the most important, we trust ourselves. Yes. The intuition, because so many times we can ask our friends for an advice, our teachers, and the whole society, thinking that they might know better from their perspective, but every single person in this world has its own mindset, unfortunately own fears, and they projecting it on you.
Exactly.
And then if you felt like doing something by listening 5 or 10 people in your circle, and you loved every single of them, that's why you trust them, you start, it's good if they're actually helping you, creating the picture you built in yourself and you felt like it's going in the right direction. But what if they're destroying it?
It's true.
Saying like, no, it's not, it's impossible. Life is not a fairy tale. Change your glasses. And they're not doing it with bad intentions. They're actually thinking they're helping you. but to trust yourself, believing in yourself, is gonna make you so strong that by listening to this critique, you can actually maybe take this critique with a smile and be like, you know what, I'll prove you. I'll do it. I'm capable of. But if not, if something will go wrong, it's okay, it's my lesson.
Wow. And thank you so much, Shauna. Wow, that was a very, very keen insight. Yeah, it's when we lose track of our own unique intuition that we really, really, go off the path, so to speak. And that's when we start to become so unhappy. And that's when we start to really, really mess up. And it's true that there are people out there, they are, for the most part, well-intended. There are people, of course, that are not so well-intended. And of course, your intuition will tell you who is and who isn't. But for the most part, people are well-intended. But even so, no one is smarter than you yourself. Yeah, exactly. And Carl Rogers says is that he created something called humanistic psychology, kind of like a backlash to Sigmund Freud. I was telling my class yesterday. Yesterday I taught developmental psychology, and it was the last actual teaching day. And I said to my students, listen, this is a life lesson. This is also notes, of course, that you have to take for the final. But this is a life lesson that I either try to give to you at the very beginning of the semester or at the very end of the semester, because that's when it's going to make a great big influence on you. Either your first impression of me or your last impression of me. So here it is, your last impression of me. I want to give you some amazing, amazing advice in the words of Carl Rogers. Accept and love yourself no matter what, unconditionally. This is a backlash to Sigmund Freud, who was very well-intended, but also his ideas were very, very messed up. He unfortunately believed the worst about mankind and the worst about human nature. He was very, very involved in the past mess-ups, both on the part of his patients, but also on the part of the patient's parents and grandparents. Whereas Carl Rogers said, why are you so focused on the negative? Why are you so focused on the past? Rather, let's focus on what's right with humanity. Let's focus on getting healthy. Let's not focus on our lack of mental health. Let's focus on what we can do to get better now, to feel good about ourselves now. And what conquers all? Love conquers all. Carl Rogers believed that the key to success in life, the key to mental health in life, is all about self-acceptance, no matter what. Now, what gets in the way of our self-acceptance? Conditions of worth. What are conditions of worth? Conditions of worth are put upon you as you're growing up. It's parents, it's grandparents, it's teachers. Sometimes it's your siblings. Sometimes it's even your peers, your peer group. But these are basic people in your life who you actually care what they think. And these people in your life, they basically make you feel like you're only loved if you can meet certain criteria, such as keeping your room neat, such as keeping a certain weight, such as getting good grades, such as being respectful, such as never losing your temper, never having a tantrum, never doing this, never doing that, or always doing this and always doing that. These are conditions of worth, and they make you feel like, oh, I can only be loved if I'm accomplishing A, B, C, and D. However, I'm not loved if I'm doing A, B, C, and D, if I'm messing up. The real problem with conditions of worth is that we take it inside. We make it a part of our own psyche. And by roughly the time we're 20 years old, we really truly believe these conditions of worth. And we start to believe that we are so, so, so imperfect, and we can only love ourselves under certain conditions. However, these certain conditions are completely and totally unrealistic. We're not robots. We're not computers. We're not fridges. We're none of these things. And even those things are not perfect either. Yeah. We can never be as perfect as our psyche tells us that we must be in order to love ourselves. It's about time, right here and now, to say, I love myself no matter what. and that's Carl Rogers' truth. I've taken it in personally. I've taught it to all of my students for the past 20 something years, actually.
How lucky your students are, Dina. Actually, that's like it's such a. I think it's a gift to have a professor like you who basically teaches kindness and love and gives wings to fly, because it's not easy. Sometimes you're a person in power. It's so easy for you to start bullying them or telling them that they're wrong, that they are not thinking the way you want them to think. But you actually understand and you teach them that they're unique and their personality, the qualities they have, they need to respect for themselves. They just continue living, because that's how God created them.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for all the students. I think it's a blessing to work with Dina. I wish I had you in the university. I wouldn't probably think so much about life being that unfair or whatever, but then it would be probably my discovery way of understanding self-worth would be shorter. But thank you, Dina, again. Yeah.
My pleasure, Jana. Thank you. Yeah, it's true. And anytime you want to come and be a speaker in my class, you're totally welcome. I always welcome public speakers in my classroom. And I feel like everybody brings new information to the table. That's for sure. Everybody brings their own, their own perspective. I really, really appreciate your perspective, Johnny. So thank you so much for that.
It's similar. I think we have so much in common of the way we see this world and every single day that it's definitely a pleasant pleasure to come to you, to be with you, to share conversation with you and with our dear guests, because most likely they're listening to us. We are on the same page. Life is hard. And it's sometimes it's the situations we're experiencing, we just want to give up or think like, why me? I haven't done anything wrong, why it's happening? But if we'll twist every single situation in the right direction and think that it's just for us, for our own growth, and that nobody is actually against us, it's always a lesson. And the more we learn, it's like a homework. Nobody likes to do homework. But we have to learn.
True.
Our soul needs to grow every day to become better people, kinder, happier, laughing. We have to little by little get there.
Yeah, life can feel a lot like homework, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've had a very tough week. I've had a lot of hard homework this week. I happen to be exhausted physically, but mentally, however, I am recharging every single moment of the day. How am I doing this? By accepting myself and the situation unconditionally. By even accepting the fact that, I do, as a Sagittarius, I do tend to get fiery. I do tend to get emotional. And sometimes people see this and they're not so pleased with me. They're all like, hey, why are you taking this so personally? And I say to myself, look, I could either take what they're saying inward and see myself as a deeply flawed person, or I could say to myself, okay, so look, I'm being seen as a fiery person, but hey, what the heck? This is who I am. This is how I am. And believe it or not, it actually relaxes me. And it helps me to be able to deal with the rest of my day. If other people are giving me a hard time, and so in turn, I believe that I have to give me a hard time, well, my day's gonna go from heaven to hell extremely fast. However, if people are telling me, we don't like what you're thinking, we don't like what you're saying, and I then internalize that, it's forget about it. So I tell myself, so this is it. This is the situation. So-and-so said this and this. And yes, I got upset and let it go. Absolutely let it go. If I am going to get all heated up, then so be it. However, if I stay with that heat for the rest of the day, if I stay with that upset for the rest of the day, it's going to affect every interaction that I have with other people, including the interactions that I keep with myself. Because you're not only interacting with other people all day long, you're interacting with yourself. Now, you can only interact effectively with other people if you're first interacting with yourself in a very peaceful kind of a way. How do you interact with yourself in a peaceful kind of a way? By letting every situation go. If you don't, then you are internally fighting with yourself all day long. Now, it doesn't matter how right the other people seem to be. And when they're getting all, well, I said this, well, I said that, well, what are you thinking? What do you mean by that? If I'm going to internalize all of that, I will literally be fighting myself the entire day.
Yeah, actually, Dina, I remember one thing what my mom told me once, that unfortunately we cannot satisfy everyone, no matter how you want to please. And I'm a people's pleaser. I don't like to go into arguments. I'm trying to smooth out the situation most of the time, if it's possible. But it happens, people get upset. And then, of course, the first person I shared this was my mom. And she said me one thing about the sun. She said, even on a beautiful sunny day like today, there are so many people will be happy, but trust me, there will be a big amount of people who will say, it's too sunny, it's too hot, I can deal with it.
Yeah.
And she said, if sun cannot satisfy everyone, do you think one person, one human being, no matter how great this person is, it's always gonna find someone who will disagree or who will complain or who will be cranky about your behavior. And that's totally fine.
Wow.
Just let it go.
Wow.
Isn't it wonderful, Dina? If you
I love
all
that.
understand that, if you all accept that, it would be so much easier not to blame ourselves for not even mistakes, but interpretations of our people and your behavior. Because my and yours intentions, most of the time, they're great. We're not trying to hurt people. We're not trying to do bad. We're not trying to do mistakes. But people could interpret it differently. And that's not on us. It's
on them. It's their misfortune, really. It's their own sadness that they cannot see the world in a more happy kind of a light, in a more positive type of a light. But instead they choose to remain negative. You could say that they really try. It's not that they try, but that they seem to stay in the dark. And of course, this is because of the conditioned past, which Carl Rogers is very keen on saying that we have to let go of. It's so, so important to let go of the past, to let go of all negativity in order to be able to really, really find ourselves. We talk about finding ourselves. This is not some new agey thing. This is the truth. What happens to us when we let go of our conditions of worth? We really do find ourselves, because according to the humanists, according to Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, and Rollo May, we have within us each of so many great gifts. Among them being our own potential for unconditional positive regard. We have it within us, it's within us. We don't have to learn unconditional positive regard. It starts out, we are born loving ourselves naturally and unconditionally. Every little child out there really does love themselves naturally. Yeah. Do you think that any little kid hates on themselves? They don't. They do not. Within each and every little kid ever born, they really have such a firm love and belief and trust in themselves. Unfortunately, along the way, we kind of sort of lose our way. Yeah. Our way is never really lost to us. But as soon as we start to drop all of the conditions of worth that keep us from loving ourselves, we can rediscover our unconditional positive regard for ourselves. And we can also rediscover our own self-actualizing potential, our own potential to make the most of ourselves on this earth. And also, of course, our intuition, our inner wisdom, and our ability to stay in the present moment, which comes from following all of those other things, our own self-worth and our own actualizing potential and our own intuition, creates this awesome environment for staying present-minded and for being mindful. You know, life is about,
It's so true, but that's again, our parents' intentions, for example, for children, they think they're protecting their kids from the harm by telling them what to do, what not to do.
True.
They think giving advices about people who are good or who are bad for them, it's also another protection. But one psychologist who I really like and I read a lot lately, Jordan Peterson, he said that, do you want your kids to be safe or you want them to be confident? It's your choice.
Yeah.
So you can save them, but you will save them also from life's adventures.
It's true.
Let them go, let them experience, and let them understand wherever is good for them. You had your own experience. Maybe it was wonderful, maybe it was hard, but it was yours. And the child has to experience its own life, and it could be similar to yours, but could be completely different. And that's it's not easy, I'm sure, because we all do it with love. Again, we all our intentions most of the time are great, but how to give this freedom and democracy on a family matter, it's like on a little, it's just we're not talking about the countries and the world, but in your small group, to have this freedom of thinking and freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's possible, I believe.
Yeah, it's true, definitely. There's a philosopher, a very, very well-known philosopher named Eckhart Tolle, and he speaks a lot about staying present in the moments. And it's really the only way toward having mental health. And he says, do you want to be right or do you want to be healthy? It's like, you take your pick. Do you want to be right or do you want to be healthy? Basically, do you want to spend your whole time arguing with people and also trying to make every conversation right in your mind? You just plain want to be a healthy human being. You get your pick. You can't be both. Do you want to be right? Absolutely right. And know that I did everything right. I did everything perfectly. And that everybody else finds me to be a perfect person. Or do I just want to be healthy? That's why Eckhart Tolle talks about just being healthy in the present moment. Literally letting everything pass you by. And just enjoying every moment, moment by moment. You will discover your inner core of peace and health and happiness. No, in the words of the humanists, you will also discover God. You will. It's very, very hard to feel close to God when you feel so far removed from yourself and from your inner godliness. Each and every one of us has a part of God within themselves. This is true. No matter what your belief is, we are all created in the image of God. We are all spiritual human beings. But when you're unhappy, when you're angry, when you're upset at yourself and upset at other people, you cannot find this inner core of health and happiness, spirituality, and being close to your source. It's all about letting all of it go in order to get close to your source. And once you get close to your source, that's when you know that life is really, really, really good. And that's when you're also more likely to pray. And when you feel good about life,
Yes, unfortunately we're going to God most of the time when we're sad. But it's not the way. It's also when we probably have to think every second when we're happy.
It's true.
Because
it's true.
That's the balance. And it's okay to feel sad. That always comes. But at the same time, the sadness doesn't have to make us depressed or guilty.
Right.
It's just maybe it's like a little period we get philosophical, create some kind of thoughts, and maybe be original with our way of thinking or way of working. But to be thankful every second of our life to God, for the experience we had and will have.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a must. It's just
Yeah.
it's gonna we all gonna benefit of it. It's just accepting, like seeing you and like thank Dina for being my friend, for being a mentor, for being a person who I listen and admire. Then our beautiful videographer who's just talented and lovely. And it's
Thank you,
like
Tessa.
everything is like, isn't it wonderful?
It is.
And even for a person who yelled at me maybe in the morning, to be thankful, because maybe he'll make me appreciate my life today better, because I have no reasons to be angry as he is.
That's
But
true.
I'll
I love that.
but I'll pray for him. So hopefully he'll
Pray for the sad and the angry.
I'll just
So true.
Yeah.
You know, I look back to the times of my life when I felt particularly like sad or feeling guilty, which unfortunately has been my default mode, this feeling guilty kind of thing. And it's those times that I'm like, oh, I'm afraid to even like pray to God because I feel so badly about myself. I must be this awful human being that like is not even worthy of praying to God. But then I've looked beyond that and said, I'm doing this anyway. I'm going to pray to God because now's when I need it the most. And that's when I've, prayed, and praying does make you feel so much happier. It gives you the sense of God is with me. He's with me no matter what I'm going through, and no matter how I'm feeling about myself right now. I know that things are going to be okay no matter what, and you feel such a sense of such a sense of acceptance by God, and then you start to feel such a sense of acceptance for yourself. You say, listen, I'm somebody who I can pray to God when I'm up, I can pray to God when I'm down. But if I can sit here and pray when I'm feeling this low and feel so loved and so accepted, then hey, I'm an acceptable human being. I'm okay no matter what. And that leads me back to the beginning idea of the day, that you are, no matter what, an acceptable human being. You are. I feel like if everybody were to internalize this message, people would be so much happier within their own mind, and then again within their own lives. You talk about all the angry people that we meet on the street and all of the messages that they're imparting. And the facts of the matter is that we are meant to learn from each and every individual. And sometimes it could be all about, I'm glad I'm not that mad. I'm glad I'm not that upset. I'm glad that, I'm glad that's not me. But then we also realize that if more people were to take on this whole idea of peace of mind as a way of life, everything in their lives would flow so much more smoothly. It's like, in order to have a peaceful outer existence, you must first have a peaceful inner existence. The other way does not work. You cannot expect to do all of these amazing things for yourself and yet still not being willing to work on your own mind. Yeah. It comes with first being willing to work on your own mind and saying, hey, I'm all about peace of mind today. I really, really want to be cool. I really want life to be okay. What's the first thing I could do? First thing I could do is stop bullying myself. That we can also go and do physical things for ourselves, such as going to get a nice manicure, going for acupuncture, going for acupressure, getting a nice facial. These things are cool too. But the main spa thing you could do for yourself is to take care of your inner self. Take care of your mind. Love yourself. Tap into those amazing inner gifts. They are free. They are from God, and they are free. They're our, free enjoyment in this world. So take advantage. Jana, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Life as I See It with your hostess, Dina Nierenberg, and my co-hostess,
Jana. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care. See you soon.